to measure where my studs are going to go and make the marks on my top and bottom plates. I'm going to make them together, keep my top and bottom plate together so I can make one mark, and that way my stud center is going to be in the same location. I know I'm going to need a stud at this end of the wall over here, so I'm going to start with my first one. Our studs here are 1.5 inches wide, so I'm going to make my first center mark at 3/4, just using a speed square, mark off a 3/4 mark, and then using my speed square I can draw a quick center line. Many people use different marks to identify what the stud location is that they've marked. In this case I've marked a center line. I like to use an X, and then I know that that's a center mark. Later on I'll show you other marks that I might use as I'm going from there. Our studs in this construction, even though they aren't load-bearing walls, I'm using a 16-inch spacing on the stud centers. I actually have a doorway going in here, so I'm not going to have enough to go a full 16 on this wall. So I'm going to go over here, mark my corner here, and I'll show you how we're going to lay out our studs for the door frame. So now I've got the two corner studs laid out. My door frame is in here. I'm going to slide these out of the way for the moment. And you remember when we marked on the floor, I identified where my door frame is going to need to go. So in this case, here's my rough opening point here, rough opening point over here. I'm just going to simply make a mark using a speed square. This is my rough opening. And same thing over on this one. Here's the edge of my rough opening. Now, I know that these are going to be the edges of my studs. So instead of an X, I'm going to draw an arrow. And that indicates to me that I need the stud edge right against that line. Do the same thing over here. And an arrow. Now, in load-bearing walls, if you're going to be building a doorway, you're going to need a king stud and a jack stud, so I'll mark those right away myself. Again, they're each going to be at 1.5 inches total width, so there's my 1.5 inches, and again, 1.5 inches. So here, I'm just simply going to make another mark, and that is another stud edge at that location. Same thing, 1.5 inches. And stud edge. Okay, onto our other wall. I know I'm going to need a stud here at this corner. So again, I'm going to go 3/4 inches. There is my stud center. And frankly, when you're building a stud on the edge over here, the stud edge is going to be flush with the edge of this wood anyway. So do I really need to mark this? No, but now that I actually am going to be measuring 16s from that center, I want to have a reference point, which makes it easy. So I'm going to put my tape edge right at that point, and I see here is a 16. I'm going to have a stud there. And do I have enough for another? Actually, I have enough for another right over here at 32. So those are my two center marks. Make sure these are justified. Do it this way so you can see it a little easier. Again, mark my stud centers. And I'm ready to go. So now we're going to be ready to take measurements for our studs. There's two ways we can cut the studs. Here you can see the difference between the two walls that I built in the two different ways, and I left it this way intentionally to show. So now I've measured and cut all our studs. I measured from the two plates up to the joists. You can see now I've got with my two joists and the studs, I'm going to be right at the height that I need. So now we're going to put our walls together. So here's our finished closet that we've now framed in. You can see we've got both sides done. On this side here we've got our doorway, we've got our king stud and the jack stud and a header. Now we're in a basement, and again this is not load bearing down here, so doubling up on a header, even using studs on 16s, it's not necessary, but I like to place my studs on 16s. The cost is not substantially more. Plus, if I'm ever going to do anything down here or change anything, add things to the walls, add shelving, whatever, it's nice to have studs on every 16. Hanging televisions or anything else like that. Studs on 16, everything that you're going to do or add to your home is pretty much based on that.